it's good, but then well, watch when it pops up. Hold on.
There's like 800 of those things.
I know, I'm gonna have to delete them all off.
It's the right way up.
It's right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
For now.
Alright, I guess let me know.
I'll let you know if we flip upside down.
Okay.
Tell them they can join now.
Okay. I am so sorry. I don't know why YouTube is giving so much trouble, but I think I finally have it. I'm using 2 different phones, so I finally have TikTok vertical, YouTube horizontal on my regular phone. So if you were catching this and you finally like hopped in after all of them, thank you.
You're not.
It's not live?
Not on my screen.
You just said that's
You were, yes, you were. Hold on, you might.
Yeah, it is live.
Oh, it is, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Alright, we're good. Hopefully you get some entertainment if you're watching the beginning of the video. I'm gonna give another second because hopefully people can figure out that unfortunately like the link that I put in for everybody is now a completely different link. So while we're waiting, I'm sewing up the Addy Shoulder Bag. I printed it at 90% because I'm making it for my aunt as a crossbody. So it is kind of bulky, and I think like larger as a shoulder bag is perfect, but for her, she sometimes uses a walker, so she prefers the crossbody. So for this one, I'm doing 90%. I have cotton. It's like a cotton canvas. It's like the duck canvas from Walmart. So most of it is, or almost the entire thing is this, and then I'm using just like a promo vinyl from My Punk Broidery for the accents. Trying to think. As far as interfacing, I have on the back of it Wizardry Stitchery's cotton woven. It's my favorite to use when using any type of cotton or canvas because it does have to heat like super hot in order for it to adhere. And because of that, I honestly just like glued fleece, and I'm setting it here, so I'm hoping I can like stitch it in on the actual vinyl portions. Alright, so I'm not sure, hopefully people can figure out the links. I'm just gonna start sewing because it's already like 20 minutes in and I feel bad. So I'm starting with my front pocket with the zipper teeth facing up and my lining facing up. If you're just joining, thank you. I'm really sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning, but I think we have them all worked out. I'm just starting with the front pocket here. And of course, I feel like if it could go wrong tonight, it's gonna go wrong. I'm gonna have to pull this out. My needle is something with the bobbin right now. It's funny because all day today, like I set everything up, I like checked the links. I was like, all right, I want to make this go as smoothly as possible. So I'm not sure what caught. I'm just re-threading this because my needle wasn't coming up. So I really appreciate all of you finding the new link. Hopefully, my plan is to go live more often this summer. So hopefully it will go a little bit smoother each time. I might end up trying to use, like right now I'm just going live through YouTube Studio, but I think next time I'm going to use StreamYard. I set up the account and everything, I just haven't put it through yet. Alright, like I said, I'm starting with the zipper just basting down on the front pocket. Alright, so I have it basted on for the lining. So now I'm putting the exterior right side down. I'm going to switch to my zipper foot. And I'm not matching up centers or anything. I'm just lining it up along the outside. One thing that I do is I move my zipper pull as I'm clipping it because I noticed that it, you can get like a bubble sometimes if you don't move it out of the way even when you're clipping. So if you're just hopping on either on YouTube or TikTok, thank you so much for joining. I'm really sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning. I'm sewing up in Addy Shoulder Bag right now. It's my own pattern. It's available in my shop, and I printed it at 90%. So this is the first time I'm doing it at a smaller percentage. And I'm just doing it this way because it's going to be a crossbody for my aunt, and I feel like a slightly smaller size would just fit better for her for a crossbody. Okay, and if you're using like I'm using all quilt and cotton, I could press this with an iron, but I'm just folding it back on its own. I'm trying to do it quicker. So if you want that nice clean finish, you definitely press it. Right, and I just switched out my foot again because I am going to top stitch along the side of the zipper here. Hi, Dad. Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining me. Dad, I don't know if you tried earlier. I was having so much trouble, so I appreciate if you guys are finding the correct links. It wouldn't, it kept displaying it in the wrong format for YouTube. So, same with like, I have TikTok going too, so everybody there was waiting. So I appreciate it. So I'm just doing, these are going to be the front pockets for the Addy. So this is going to be on the left side, and then I have, what I'm working on right now will be the lining. You saw that? Yeah, it was so bad. Jason had to help me. Hey, Kim. Aw, thank you. So I'm so used to like sewing at the machine and then rolling away to another table. So I'm trying to find where all my stuff is. Alright, and then so now I have the lining, so I'm going to put the other exterior pocket on, or the front of it, and I'm just sandwiching it between the zippers. So if you're just joining, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys finding the correct link. I'm just moving the pattern pieces out of the way as I'm going. Also, I don't know about where everyone else is. It's so hot here in New York today. In this room, I don't have the AC here. So I apologize if you hear the fans or anything. So then these are going to fold out. So this is going to create our whole exterior front pocket. And I cut the zipper tapes just a little bit longer. Makes it easier for me to work like that. And again, I could press this with an iron, but I'm just pulling it back, and I think it's working. It's the only thing I check is to make sure that the zipper is not going to get caught. So I've definitely done that where I have not folded it back far enough. Nicole, yeah, 99.5. I think it was like 95 today earlier when I was outside and full humidity. It felt like a swamp outside. So, and it's still hot. It just started raining not that long ago. So hopefully it knocks down the temps. Alright, so this is the front exterior pocket, and I am going to put the last lining on for that. So this will be the lining, and what I'm doing is literally just setting it right on top and I'm going to stitch all the way around to hold it into place. Did I cut this? Main panel. Oh my gosh, I think I grabbed the wrong thing. One exterior. Yep, I totally did. So I'm gonna cut this down. You'll see what I'm doing. So I grabbed the different panel piece than I should have. Like I said, I guess three things need to go wrong, right? So like, it wouldn't flip first, then my needle stuck, and now this. So it's okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just basting this all the way around the outside to hold it in place. So I have it, I just base stitched it all the way around, and I'm just going to trim that back panel, so where it is extended, and that's just how I salvaged it. So I do have like a regular tutorial for this too, where I actually do everything correctly and nothing goes wrong. So that was definitely available on my channel. Alright, so now this is what the front looks like. So I am going to add the vinyl exterior bottom at this time and the top accent. So I'm just lining it up. You can mark your centers and stuff. I don't normally. Not for this anyways. Okay. So this is just the vinyl piece. And my interfacing is a little loose. I'm using the cotton woven or the cotton interfacing from Wizardry Stitchery, and it requires like very high heat, so it does not stick to the vinyl that well. Just moving some more stuff out of my way. And this is a little bit thick here because I do have fusible fleece, but my sewing machine has all like the metal gears inside, so it goes through pretty thick stuff. I was just checking to make sure that the seam allowance caught right here, especially because I had to do the pocket a little bit differently. So I am going to top stitch this, but I'm going to save it for after because I'm going to add the top accent piece first. And put that right side facing down. I'm glad that I can keep you company while you're prepping them. I have not tried one yet. I heard they're kind of tough, and I'm not sure if I'd be able to get the zipper all the way around. But I do love how they look. So I guess I need to be brave and just try it. And one thing is just make sure your zipper, if you haven't put it on, I always put my zipper pulls on first. I know sometimes when you leave the zipper longer, it's like easier to put on after, but I've definitely forgotten to do that. Alright, so now we'll be able to fold this one up and the bottom one down and top stitch. But what I am going to do before that is clip off the extra zipper tape. Yeah, I definitely have to try, Nicole. I know there's some great tutorials, and I always appreciate patterns that have videos. So for my normal job, my day job, I'm a teacher, so I'm off for the summer. So maybe I'll add that to my summer sewing list. Again, if you're just joining now, thank you so much. We had so many technical difficulties at first, and I feel really bad. So if you found the link, I really appreciate it. And I just switched out to my Teflon foot. That's what I use to sew on vinyl. Sometimes if it's like glitter vinyl, it's still very difficult, but this is the promo vinyl from My Punk Embroidery, and it works really well. I know that one of the other things too is also just like figuring out what works best for your machine, because I was sewing on a Brother machine, and the Teflon foot on that, it like didn't work at all. So I wasn't sure if it would work here, and it does. So it's definitely worth testing out different things for your machine. is so hot here that even this vinyl is pretty sticky. Alright, good night, Dad. Love you too. Thank you for joining in. My parents are so supportive. They came to Soul Magical Expo in Tennessee and like helped me run the booth. And my dad, who like doesn't use a computer or internet, like goes on and likes all my videos and makes sure he gives it a thumbs up. So I appreciate it. He surprised me. He didn't tell me that he was gonna try to watch tonight. And now I'm just doing the top stitching for the top accent. With it being so hot, even the Teflon foot is sticking a bit right now. I'm not pulling on it, but I definitely had to like guide this through. And I know some people recommend tissue paper. I have found that instead of tissue paper, if your foot gets stuck, parchment paper works really well. But, all right, so this is the front panel. That one is done. And I'm just gonna set it to the side. So now I have to look at what I have because I was going to put the slip pockets on the back, but because I used that for exterior, you know what, I think, so I used the other piece, the slip pockets, I reversed them with the front exterior, but I can still turn this into a slip pocket in the back. What I'm gonna have to do is just increase my seam allowance. Oh, thanks, Nicole. Yeah, I'm really lucky. I have incredibly supportive parents and even my sister and my nieces, so very lucky. So for this slip pocket, I'm just putting right sides together, and I'm gonna sew around 3 sides. I'm gonna leave the bottom, so let me make sure. Yeah, I'm gonna leave the bottom unsewn, and I'm just gonna take a deeper seam allowance in the top. Otherwise the pocket will be too tall. And I promise you, the written pattern has the actual correct things. It was me just grabbing the wrong piece. Part of it is because I was like nervous and like upset that the video wasn't working properly. So I hope to do more lives this summer. That's one of my goals. I also do videos once a month with the Marathon Society, and those are so much fun. But I'm gonna also start reaching out to some other designers to see if I could do some tutorials for them as well. So I just sewed the 3 sides, and I did take the bigger seam allowance along the top. So I'm just going to trim that seam allowance down and cut off around the corners and such. Oh, thanks, Nicole. I appreciate it so much. I do enjoy catching lives too with different people. And I really enjoy seeing like different people's style and how they make bags and stuff. And also like the different machines. Like I'm sewing on a Singer, but it's from like the late 70s, early 80s, I believe. So it has like the all metal gears. So I just love seeing all the different machines. I'm just like turning this right sides out now and poking out my corners. Alright, and then again, this is like, would be perfect to press it, but I am like already so hot. I'm like, I'm not taking out an iron. I'm just making sure I get the corners poked out pretty well on this piece. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just top stitch along the top. So now what I'm going to have to do is find my centers, because for this one I actually do have to pay attention to line it up on the other exterior piece. Oh, Nicole, like tonight is totally filled with all the mess ups. Oh, and a long arm. I love doing quilting as a nice break from bags. I and also am an ambassador for Cotton Cuts, and they do the puzzle mystery quilt, and I just have so much fun. Okay, and so we are gonna put our slip pocket onto this exterior piece, and I'm just gonna match up the centers. So I need to find the center of this long piece as well. But yeah, it's true. Like behind the scenes in the marathon sewing group when we're filming for each month, I always tell people like I love seeing if someone messes up how they're correcting it, because sometimes like yes, it's great to have maybe like the official tutorial video with no errors, but I've learned so much. Like I'm a completely self-taught sewist, so like I've learned so much just from people, like you said, like the little gems, or seeing errors and how people fix them. Alright, so to attach the slip pocket, I'm just now stitching down on the left side and the right side. And I'm just back stitching a little bit extra at the top of the slip pocket to really hold it in place. Hi Jessica! Thank you so much for joining in. If you guys are just tuning in again, thank you so much. We had technical difficulties in the beginning, so I know the link was funny. So I really, really appreciate you guys finding it. Yeah, it's so true, Nicole. When I first started sewing too, I had so much trouble just like reading a pattern. So that's why I'll really appreciate visual, like the video tutorials, and it's so helpful seeing numerous people, because everyone has their own way of teaching or explaining as well. So oh, no worry, Jessica. Like YouTube was giving me so much trouble. Like I had created the event, and for whatever reason, even though I changed the settings to horizontal, it was only filming in vertical, and it was like all crooked. So the link that I even posted, I'm not even sure if it's the correct one anymore. So this is the hidden slip pocket. I think I'm going to split it down the center and just do a line of sewing, because I don't want it to like bow out too much. So I'm just folding that in half. And what I normally do is, like, I have a ruler. This one's from Mormino, and I just put it up towards the crease. And then I have, this is like my favorite thing ever. It's a chalk pencil from Hannah Woodworking from Becky. And you can switch it out from chalk to a real pen to a pencil. And it's like my favorite notion that I think I've bought. Chalk is my favorite marking tool. And so I'm not gonna go up and stitch a box or anything. I'm just gonna go straight up the center and back stitch at the top. Yeah, Jessica, I was saying that I downloaded StreamYard, which I think I'm going to try to use next time. Because now YouTube will also, if you're doing lives, you can also do it in vertical, and they play them with shorts. And I think that's what was happening. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, I've heard really good things about it, so I'm definitely gonna try it because I think it's also cool that you can stream to multiple platforms at once. All right, so since I just divided the pocket, I am going to put the two accent pieces on. So the top accent piece, and then our bottom. And I'm actually gonna clip them at the same time and sew them on at the same time. So I know Nicole is working on the zip around wallet. Do any of you have patterns cut out or that you're currently working on? I have a book bestie from Carolina Little Stitches cut out, and I started cutting out an H2O to go, but I need to get more solid color waterproof canvas. So I'm just sewing these and just being extra mindful because you can see where it's not really tacked down. So as I'm stitching these in, it's also stitching the interfacing to these vinyl pieces. Thanks, Jessica. They're all on sale right now in my shop. Like I have almost everything in the store on sale until Sunday night. So. And yeah, I just finished the As You Wish. I'll give you a sneak peek of it. So the As You Wish is the next video for the Marathon Society. It comes out, I think it's July 22nd. It's either 20th or 22nd, whatever that Saturday is. I'll grab it and I'll show you. So I used the Dolphin water resistant canvas and I love it. And then with the Dolphin pole, it was the first time that I made the As You Wish bag, and Kathy's pattern is amazing. So this is from Kathy from K-Dale Handmade. Great pattern. If you haven't made it, highly recommend. And if you get it, you can sew along with us for the marathon. 20th. Thanks, Jessica. I knew it had I wasn't sure it was 20th or 22nd. I was like, I know it has a 2 in there. So yeah, thanks. I finished that last week, I think. I had so much fun. I'm sewing the top first, and I just have to be mindful because the slip pocket sometimes pushes against my zipper foot. Kim, I sent it out today. Yeah, so we're really lucky. We live 2 blocks from the post office. So if we get orders before the post office closes, we walk them over every single day. Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, definitely check out Kathy, K-Dale Handmade. It's the As You Wish that we are sewing up the end of this month. I'm sure in like a week or two you'll start seeing all the promotions and the groups for it. So in the actual pattern, I put Decoville Light, but because I'm using like the woven canvas, I end up using fusible fleece for this. Hey Dalva! Sorry, I'm also streaming on TikTok, so I had to just verify on there. Yeah, it's kind of a big box, Kim. It's like 20 by 8 by 8, so just keep an eye on tracking. Dalva, are you staying cool or safe? Did you get hit with the hurricane, or I think you guys were okay, but just maybe rain? And I'm just switching out again to a Teflon foot because it's the vinyl. Kim put a huge order in today. Oh no, that stinks. Our post office, yeah. I guess that's one plus of living in the city is that if one's closed, we can just go down the road to another. No worries, Nicole. Appreciate you guys chatting so much. I was like panicking because I was like, oh no, I put the link and now I'm having all this trouble. So I really appreciate everybody finding the correct link for the live tonight. Our ocean prints are the newest ones that we got. I can't wait to see what you make with them, Kim, and I hope other people that have purchased them post what they're making, because the ocean prints are some of my favorites, especially the turtles. So this finishes up the back exterior of the purse. So what I really like about it is that the slip pocket it blends in, especially if you're using the same pattern. I did a pretty good job of lining it up over here too. I'm quite proud of myself on that one. Oh yeah, where did you oh, you said California, right? That's where you grew up, Kim? Because I grew up in Connecticut, but like we always went to the beaches in Rhode Island, like 45 minutes away. But why I carry a lot of tropical things in my shop is because I went to college in Florida. So that's why we have like flamingos, palm trees. There's a special place in my heart for them there. Alright, so I just set aside the exterior and I'm gonna work on the two interior linings first. So I'm going to start with the slip pocket. Make sure I'm actually grabbing the right pieces. Alright, so, and I also want to make sure, so for this I'm going to put a vinyl overlay on the top, so I'm going to leave the opening on sewn. Yeah, I'd have to look up the artist's name. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I bought her files off of Etsy and I messaged her and I was like, is it okay if I put them on fabric? And she was so sweet. So I think the deep sea creatures are made up ones, but meant to look like they're glowing, how, you know, the luminescence when it gets that deep. I know one of them has a, like, is it the anglerfish? You know, the one that has like the little pointy thing off its top of its head that looks like a little fish, but it doesn't look realistic to that. Oh yeah, I've never been to California. That's on my bucket list. Oh, and I'm taking off my Teflon foot too because it does not work well on Kyan. And I'm just sewing around the 3 sides on this. Anglerfish, thank you. Thank you, Deanna. How you doing? Like, I could not think of that to save my life right now. I had this one student that was obsessed with, like, sharks and whales, like all sorts of ocean life. So like the deep sea creatures and dinosaurs. And we took him to the Museum of Natural History and he was like giving us the tour. Alright, so I left the top open to turn through, so I'm just going to trim down the edges and then cut the corner at an angle, which will help it turn a little better. Oh, I'm sure they are. I've never been anywhere in California, but I mean, it expands the whole coast, so I know how it is going down the East Coast, how every state is so different from one to the next, that I can definitely see how California would be like multiple. Alright, so I'm just gonna turn it right side out. So are any of you going to Sew Magical Expo in Tennessee at the end of the summer? I am teaching 3 classes and I'm hoping to vend again. I gotta do that soon because I think the deadline is like a month before. I'm just gonna grab a chopstick. I was having trouble poking out the corners, so I literally just use like takeout chopstick. Alright, so the top is open because we are going to I'm going to put a vinyl overlay over it. Oh, Nicole, yeah. Nicole, where in the world are you? Because you probably have to travel far. I'm really, really grateful for Sew Magical. I've met so many amazing people that way, and like customers. It's so nice, you know, meeting people in person. Oh, okay. So British Columbia, not too bad. Like it's doable. But yeah, it's really nice, and I know they just did the Sewcation in Vegas. So I wish I could go to more. They have like the sewing and quilt expos, like all sorts of fun things, but because I'm a teacher, it makes it so hard unless it falls during the summer. And here in New York, we went till June 26th was our last day, so it goes a while. Oh yay, Deanna, I can't wait to see you again. Oh, see, yeah, so that's not too bad, Nicole. Alright, so I just put some double-sided tape to, it'll be out of my stitch line just to help me hold that vinyl in place. I hate trying to get double-sided tape peeling it up. Alright, there we go. Oh, I really need to take one of your epoxy classes. I bought some, I don't even know what brand. I tried doing it myself and it came out okay, but I feel like I need like all the tips and tricks and tutorial for it. I bought like what's it called? Like the silicone for like earring templates, and was trying to pour it in with a cup, and I was like, oh no, I need like a dropper or something. It was definitely interesting. Alright, so now I'm just going to top stitch across that, switching back to my Teflon foot. Oh wow, yeah, 14 hours. That's about what it's gonna take us to get from New York City down to Nashville. Yeah, I can imagine us being hard. Like, I'm in New York and my family's in Connecticut. It's about 2.5 hours away. But like my whole family lives pretty close to each other. So I have this Teflon foot, but the one thing I hate about it is one side of it is wider than the other. But for this, I'm going to use the wider side. Out of habit, I always want to put mine a certain way when I need the the shorter side. Yeah, Nicole, we've also done the trip down to Florida, which is like 22 hours from here, maybe. Well, maybe a little less, but then you put traffic. So we definitely stop overnight. I actually really love driving. I get car sick, so I always drive. But I really love road trips. Yeah, Deanna, oh, I didn't know you guys were in Tampa. I went to school in St. Pete. Love that area. I guess our shop is pretty small compared to others because we only just started doing pre-orders, and we don't do anything like licensed or characters. So when we've gone to Florida, we've rented an SUV, but when we went to Tennessee, we fit it all in my Jetta last year. So that was a pretty big accomplishment. So we pack it, it's like Tetris. So hopefully for Tennessee this time though we'll be able to get an SUV, like rent one. The only problem is that it is Labor Day weekend and the rental rates are crazy, so. Oh, yeah, 16 hours. Yeah, it depends on like the way you go, and like 95 traffic is always awful. Alright, so I'm just grabbing one of my linings here. I have the slip pocket done. So I'm just going to mark my centers. And I'm actually going to mark the centers on the top and the bottom because I'm going to need that after for when I put the zipper tape and stuff, so. And then I'm just folding my slip pocket as well to find the center. Alright. And then so what I'm doing is I'm just using my ruler to figure out I'm lining it with the center of the lining to the center of the slip pocket. And because I have this is cotton, I'm gonna use actual pins to hold it in place. That's funny, Kim. Yeah, I feel like I'm like a Tetris master now. Because also it's like thousands of dollars. Well, I guess it depends how much you have, but like it can be like $1,000+ to ship your goods to So Magical. And I'm just like, we're not that big of a shop. So we just cram it all in. Absolutely hate using pins. I always stab myself. I'm just trying to hold it up away from myself to make sure it looks centered. I think the right side needs to be brought up a tiny bit. I think this is like, well, besides all the cutting and like interfacing, the least favorite part of bag making is like all the fiddling with the interior pockets. I feel like every time I look at it, it's moving slightly. My OCD is going nuts. Alright, so I'm just gonna top stitch this around all three sides, making sure I'm really back stitching at the beginning and the end for those stress points. And if you're just tuning in, thank you so much again. I know I keep repeating that. I'm also streaming to TikTok, so like people are jumping in on there too. So I really appreciate everybody jumping in and chatting. Oh, enjoy your walk. I love going for walks. Our neighborhood's really nice for that. A lot of times our walks end up with us at the ice cream store, which kind of defeats the purpose though. Alright, so now we have our interior pocket with the slip pocket. So I'm going to set this one aside and grab my other lining and mark my centers again. And I'm using a blue marking pen. I always end up getting it all over my fingers, but if I can't use chalk, I really like this one because it erases with water. And I found that it does work, except for if it's like a polyester, like the seatbelt webbing it didn't come out of, and one of the interfacings that I used, it didn't rinse out of. But anything that's usually like cotton base, it seems to work pretty well. Alright, so for this one, I'm doing a zipper pocket with a zipper overlay. So I marked the center here, and now I'm just going to prep the zipper overlay by putting double-sided tape in the center. My machine hates double-sided tape, but if I keep it in the center, it stays out of the seam allowance. And for so long I wouldn't do this. I was trying to like balance it, like holding it with my hands, and sometimes it would work, sometimes it would be crooked. So I'm definitely glad that I just gave in to the tape and tried it, because it does definitely make a difference. Hey Erica! Erica saying hi on TikTok. Thanks for joining in. If you are on TikTok and you can see like the chat, my friend Erica is an amazing artist and is like doing tattoos now, and they're absolutely incredible. So you should check out her artwork. And so I'm just measuring now, trying to, well, I guess from the bottom is probably easiest to decide where to put the zipper overlay. Because normally I do it from the top, but I need to make it straight. I'll see if I can do it here the way I'm sitting. So I peeled off one side to make it stick. And so what I do is I usually just like fold it in half, mark the center, stick the top, and then make sure it's where I want it, and then peel the bottom. Aw, thanks Erica. I know, TikTok was, not TikTok, I feel bad because I was on, but YouTube was giving me so much trouble. I was saying that one of my goals is to go live a lot more often since I am off for the summer. So, okay, so it looks pretty centered. So now I'm going to stick or peel off the tape on the bottom and stick the rest. This is another thing that I held off on doing for a really long time, was the zipper overlays. But once I learned how to do them, it really does kind of save time in the long run. Alright, so I just switched back to a zipper foot. And I'm going to stitch around the top or the outside edge, and I'm not going to back stitch. I'm going to tie it off so I don't have that back stitch mark. And because I'm tying it off, I just start in the center. When I do back stitch, I will start like usually more towards the sides. You can hear those really loud noises. There's fireworks going off like 2 houses down. And then I hand crank around the curves. So if you're just hopping in, I am sewing, it's called the Addy Shoulder Bag. It's a pattern available in my shop, and I am sewing it at 90% tonight. The strap, in the pattern I show how you can like measure it so it fits you precisely, but I'm gonna make this one a crossbody for my aunt, so that's why I'm doing it at 90%. Because I think slightly smaller will fit better as a crossbody. Oh, So yeah, Nicole, I hate when I have to use glue, especially like with the domestic. Also, because I'm not patient, and then sometimes I'm sewing through it, my needle gets sticky because it didn't dry all the way. I try to avoid glue and double-sided tape whenever I can. So I just started and stopped in the same like hole. So now I'm gonna just pull all my threads to the back. And how you do that is if when you just pull up on one of your threads, it kind of creates a little loop, and you can catch that. I'm using my stiletto to hook it and pull up the extra thread from the front. Sometimes if it gets stuck, then you can thread it through. This one I might have to thread it through with like a needle from the front. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Alright, perfect. I was able to get it. Yeah, you definitely want to check because you don't want to pull up on the wrong loop and take out your stitching. I find the wallets do use a lot of double-sided tape just because like the nature of like the card slots and stuff, and it's a small area to work in. And I'm just triple knotting this in the back. And I'm just trimming the threads a little bit. And then now what we do, we need to cut out the lining from that center. So I'm just going to use my seam ripper to create that initial cut and then use my scissors for the rest. And I'm just paying extra careful attention. I've definitely have cut through my zipper overlay before. So I'm kind of just trimming from the back and pulling the lining away so I can see the overlay. And again, this does, you know, it is a little bit time consuming, but it does give it a nice finish. And if you worry about like the, you know, the pockets where you like turn it through and then you get the crinkles in the corners, the overlay really hides it so you don't have to worry about those crinkles. So Nicole, do you sell your makes? Do you do like markets or anything? I sometimes do like local markets back home, but we only did one last year at like my local church, just to where I grew up, support it. and at my old high school. So I have the center cut out. So I'm just gonna move it to the side for a second so I can prep the linings for this zipper pocket. So I cut this like way larger than I needed. But I am just lining up the raw edge and we're gonna baste it into place. So I have my lining right side up and my zipper with the zipper teeth also right side up. Oh, that's really great with the local business. That's one thing that I miss. Like, I grew up in a small town, so that is like, that happens back home. But here in the city, you don't really find that too much where you can put them in local businesses, or if you can, it's like crazy expensive. Okay, so now I'm taking my other lining and lining up the other side of the zipper. So that way my linings are right sides facing together. I'm just making sure the edges are lined up. Alright, so now that our lining are right sides together and I have my zipper tape, I am going to prep this for placing it into my lining. So I am going to put double-sided tape along the very, very edge, and actually where it usually overlaps a little bit onto the lining, and that's just going to help me stick it better into place. And then sometimes this one just likes to like kind of pop up and unstick itself. So I'm just gonna work with it the best I can. So I'm peeling off both sides because I'm gonna leave my lining open. So a lot of times when you do it, people sew across the bottom and then up and around. If you leave your lining open like this, you can do the whole box at once. So I'm gonna do that to save time. And I want my zipper opening from left to right, so I'm gonna make sure that I have it the correct way. I just have it here on my table, and then what I'm gonna do is take my overlay and make sure it's centered. I'm just standing up so I can see this better. Because I need it centered because we have to zip up our pocket after, or not zip up, stitch up our pocket after. And I'm short, so I need to be able to see. Okay, I have the top part pretty much stuck, but the bottom has like because it's like going opposite of the seam allowance wants to flip onto itself. I'm like trying to flatten that out. All right, so I have it mostly like centered between. So I'm gonna switch back to my Teflon foot and sew all the way around that middle box. And again, I'm gonna leave my tails long so that way I can tie it off on the back. The neighbors have like huge fireworks. Like I said, I'm not sure if you can hear it through the speaker, but they're going off. And I just take my time doing the zipper overlay, especially on the sides going over the zipper teeth. I just usually hand crank it just to try to be more accurate. The long edge doesn't give me so much trouble. And I started and stopped in the same spot again. So the one thing about doing it this way is that if you open your pocket, you do see like the stitching, but this is from my aunt, so she's not gonna mind. She probably won't even know to look. So if a bag is for me or like a family or somebody, I like doing it this way because, like I said, it's faster. So I'm pulling this gently because sometimes when you start and stop in the same hole, it like gets stuck on each other. Hey Cam. And again, I'm just tying it off on the back side. And this one I will cut a little bit shorter because you can see this knot because of the way that I did it. So if I leave the tails long, you'll notice them. Kim, look, I'm collecting my threads like what you were doing the other night, because I also have ideas for them. Okay, so from the front it looks like this, and then the back. So now I'm just going to pull my lining down, and I'm not going to close my pocket completely. I'm just going to sew down the left and the right edge, leaving the bottom open, because we're going to turn our bag through the lining, but we're going to stitch the lining up through the pocket. So if you leave the bottom open, you can access it. So I'm just bending back the top so I can see my pocket, and then I'm just going to stitch down on the left and right side. Yeah, Nicole. I was whenever I'm on like my iPad trying to type, I'm like the worst typer. I definitely feel more comfortable with an actual keyboard. And I'm just trimming my threads, and then you can see where like the zipper tape is long, then I trim off my zipper tape. And I always like leaving extra zipper tape in case it decides to fray. Like, knock on wood, I've never had that happen to me, but I know that it can. So I feel like the more I leave, the more secure it is, especially with webbing. Do you find, Kim, on the iPad keyboard that you can still type as well? I've never tried an iPad keyboard, like a portable one. So Kim's asking if I singe my zipper tape. I actually don't. I try to avoid heating any type of polyester, nylon, plastic. So if I'm able to leave it long like this, I do not. When I put in the top zipper tape, I am using like a zipper tab at the end, then I will, because it's just such a small space. But if there's where I'm leaving extra zipper, I don't. And it's also why when I was doing the accents, the vinyl accents, I glued on the interfacing, because you can heat up the vinyl, But one, it would have to be too hot for the type of interfacing I was using, but also because I just, again, don't like heating that plastic. Like, can't imagine the fumes are good for you. Okay, and so because of how I did the pocket, there's a little bit extra, so I'm just gonna trim that off. Okay, and then cutting that edge of that zipper tape. Alright, so I'm gonna put the lining to the side and grab my exteriors again. There's one more thing that I'm going to do. So before I put the zipper tape on the top, I'm putting them right sides together, and I'm going to attach the bottom. So there's two parts that are like, I think are kind of challenging about this bag. The first one is that we are going to sew this and top stitch it. So it gives like a nice finished bottom, but it makes it really hard to top stitch along the zipper up here on one of the sides. So you don't have to connect these like this. You can just connect them after, like when we put the linings. And then the other thing that is difficult is a little bit of how we put in the D-rings, because they're kind of like box corners. But I love them because it allows you to put a D-ring in the side seam with a zipper without having a gusset piece. Oh yeah, that. So I use my iPad. The last couple years I've been observing teachers in classrooms instead of like being an actual classroom teacher. So maybe I should get a keyboard for the iPad. It would probably help a lot. Alright, so I'm just stitching along the bottom my regular stitch length and regular seam allowance. Oh, that's really funny about the emojis. I just saw that. Alright, so now that I've stitched it, I am going to butterfly the seams open here on the bottom and top stitch down one side and come back the other way. Yeah, so Kim, the D-rings for this bag is the exact same way in the winter crescent. So when I was designing the bags, like living in the city, I like my bags to have a zipper instead of just like a magnetic top. And at the time, I was like too afraid of gussets, or it's not, well, I was afraid, but also like I could never get them to match up right. So then I figured out how I could put in, like still have the D-ring in the sides, but not have a gusset or using like a magnet. And the side that really is the pain in the butt is the side that has the zipper tab. But once you kind of like, once you get it a couple times, it's really not too bad. And because I'm using cotton woven, tonight it will be easier. It's much more difficult on like vinyl or anything that's more like sturdy. And thank you so much, everybody, joining in. on TikTok or YouTube. Really appreciate it. You guys staying and hanging out have made it me a little bit less nervous. So I just did one side and I'm turning it around. Thanks, Cam. Your Taylor Swift inspired winter crescent bag was amazing. I loved everything that you did. Sometimes one thing that I have trouble with on like a domestic is sometimes is getting going on the vinyl. So sometimes I like if it's gonna be in the seam allowance, I'll just start my stitch ahead of it. Alright, so yeah, so see I just top stitch along the bottom. I just like the nice finish it gives, but like I said, it does make it really, this is going to make it really difficult to top stitch up here. So you could just close this up after like normal and not do the top stitching and it looks just as well. Alright, so before we attach the lining, we need to prep our zipper. So there's two things that I do. I like doing the method where we fold down the top and stitch it to the side. So I'm just measuring and marking real quick where we have to fold it down to. And I'm just using chalk. Oh yeah, so on TikTok my username is the same, so Majestic, but there's an underscore with it. So ideally I want to use like StreamYard or one of those to go live on multiple, but I haven't gone live on TikTok in so long I had to do like an individual live. So I literally have like my current phone and an old one, so I can do both right now. I just switch back to my regular zipper, but that's also a pain having to constantly switch between, but it's worth it for the difference. So how I do my zipper folds is I mark the side, how far down. Oh yeah, on TikTok it does look backward, it mirrors it. So then I'm opening up, and so what I do is I fold my zipper tape right at that line. So if like you're looking from the side, it looks like this. So the teeth are straight down, and then I pull the teeth up to make like that 90-degree angle. The teeth sit right above that fold. And then I just click it, or clip it in place. And then I do the same thing, folding them straight back, and then pulling the teeth up. Okay, and then I just check to make sure that they're even and do a little stitch on the side. Some people clip them and burn them. I definitely don't do that. I just stitch them, but what you have to be mindful of is on the back it makes like a little triangle. If you don't catch that triangle, your zipper tape will open back up. So what I like to do is kind of, I leave my foot up, my presser foot up, angle my zipper tape under, put my needle in, and then take out the clip and put my foot down. By putting my needle in first, it holds it in place for me. And that also took me a little while to really get down, but I really like the look of and how far your bag can open when you do your zipper teeth like this on one side. Hey Cam, you found me. So if you hang out with me until like the end when we put the zipper in, you're gonna see, when we put the D-rings in, you're gonna see how the zipper tab side makes it a little difficult. What you could do is cut an extra long zipper and kind of like only sew here and leave like a tail with the zipper end that you tuck in your bag. But I prefer it, my personal preference is with the tab at the end. And I did singe this one because this is such a small tab. So I have the tab on one side and I actually top stitch on both sides just to hold it in there a little bit more firmly. And the other thing that I do, just like I leave for my interior zippers, leave them longer and trim them after, I do the same thing for my zipper tab. That way, if it shifts or anything after, I have little leeway, and I don't trim that until after my zipper is sewn in. Alright, so now we are going to start attaching our zippers. And actually, so in the pattern, I have you attach the front first, but because of my zipper foot having one tooth wider than the other, it makes it really hard for me to stitch the back because of the angle. So I'm actually going to do the back side first. So since I'm starting with the back, I am grabbing my lining and I need to mark the centers of my zipper tape. So I'm just aligning my tab with the teeth. And I just gotta move my zipper a little bit out of the way. And I just pinch it and try to hold the chalk and do like a little mark on the inside to see. You could also use, like, if you have silver marking pen. One thing I don't recommend is snipping your zipper tape. You just don't, I don't want to ever risk it fraying. Okay, and the other thing that I haven't done yet is I did not mark the centers of my top. So I'm going to find them now. And I always find my centers just by folding. I just find it like the most easiest, I guess, natural way, what feels natural to me. So I'm starting with my lining with the zipper, and I'm just matching up the center. I'm clipping it in place, and I'm gonna base stitch it. I find it easiest to base stitch and then do the exterior, like adding your exterior. You could do it at once. One thing that I recommend is just really taking your time and clipping carefully and moving your zipper pull out of the way. Because of this curve, you can get a wavy zipper. So that can come from like the zipper pull not being moved, stretching it. Some of my testers had found it easier to like put your lining and your exterior on at the same time. But I still prefer to base stitch. And again, just switching out my feet. That's too funny, Nicole. Yeah, glue is just one of those things. I don't think it matters if you're like 5 or 85, that it gets everywhere. How many do you have cut and prep? Oh wow, 10. That's a lot. Alright, so I have my zipper basted, and obviously because it's just a zipper, I'm starting where the teeth are and ending at the tab. But I'm going to show you when I clip on the exterior what we need to sew from, because we're not sewing from edge to edge. If you do that, you will not be able to attach your D-rings. Okay, so now I am taking my exterior, which is a little bit bulky because it's sewed together, and I'm starting with the back. So I'm going to put my exterior back right side facing down. So my lining is right side facing up. My exterior is right side facing down, and the zipper is sandwiched between. So I'm clipping my centers, and then I'm going to clip all the way out, all the way up through the curve. Oh, that's good to know that, like, once you get through the prep, that the sewing is not so bad. I just flip this so I can move my zipper. So, what Kim was asking earlier, this method for the top part of the Addy shoulder bag, which I'm making right now, is the same exact method as in the winter crescent bag, which is just a smaller crossbody. Yes, I always base first. Okay, so now this is where we're gonna sew. We don't want to start at the edge. We want to start right where the seam allowance is. So we're gonna line up. It's gonna come in a little bit here, and you're gonna go at the given seam allowance along that curve. So it's gonna come partly up into that horizontal, but not all the way across. And I just need to put my zipper foot on. and so you can see this is getting kind of like long. So as I'm working with this, sometimes I fold it or roll it just to make it a little bit more manageable. Because it's the zipper and it can be wavy, I'm not removing my clips until I get like right up against my zipper foot. And I'm just moving the zipper out. Thank you, Kim. I use the winter crescent for like a really long time. I actually really like it going to concerts. If the bag doesn't need to be too small. I actually made the willow because it fits like concert venues near us. But there's some other ones where I really love the winter crescent, especially in like a squishy cotton woven, because then it just kind of like molds to the side of you. And for me, it was like perfect. It holds enough stuff, like the necessities, but not too much. Whereas like the Addy is like the big sister version. Oh yeah, thank you, Nicole. It's on my website. It literally, it's kind of like a crescent shaped. And for me, there's like the standard size. It's like I think it's like 12 inches wide, and then the extra wide, which is like a little bit larger. And for me, it was perfect. Held my wallet, keys, you know, phone, and a few other items, but not huge. Like this one becomes a really big bag. And so what I just wanted to show you guys, so as you can see, what I did is I line up this, like the beginning of the curve at the seam allowance line on my machine. And you can see that it comes into that horizontal section a little bit, but not all the way. And before I turn this back on itself to top stitch, this is where I then cut off that extra zipper tape and the zipper tab at the end. Alright, so now I'm going to fold that back on itself so I can top stitch. And I'm just pulling it away from the zipper, trying to get the lining so it doesn't, sometimes like the lining folds up and I get it too close to the zipper teeth. So I always tug on it to make sure it's pulled far enough back. Oh, I'm paused. Thanks, Kim. You know what? I gotta plug my phone in on TikTok. Oh, I appreciate it. Alright, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so now I am going to top stitch. This is really important. You are only top stitching from the zipper tab to the end of the zipper teeth. You don't want to go all the way to the curve. If you go all the way to like the curve, it's not gonna open. You're not gonna be able to put D-rings in. So you want to make sure you stop at the ends of your zipper. So I'm just, again, because this is attached, folding it up so I can reach everything. And even though you're gonna see it, I do backstitch at the beginning and the end. I guess you could leave your threads long and pull them in between. I found that's a lot of work on the top stitching parts. Yeah, thanks, Kim. I've gotten used to it because I have to screw them on, but I found I used to hate using this machine when I had to change feet because I used to really like tighten the bolt every single time. But I found that if I just tighten it by hand, it's strong enough, and that has made it so much quicker and easier. So I was really spoiled that when I sewed on a brother, it was just like a basic one, but I had like the clip-on feet. Alright, so here you can see I have it top stitch. So now we're going to repeat the same exact thing for the opposite side. So I'm going to line up the lining right side facing up, and because this is attached, so zipper teeth right side facing up. So this part is not so bad, just attaching the zipper. It's the next part when we have to top stitch it. And like it's hanging down, like pulling on it, so I'm just maneuvering it. Right, so again, I'm base stitching it in the same exact way. I wish I could just leave the Teflon foot on, but it doesn't. It gets like stuck on zipper tape or cotton woven. I do use the Teflon foot though on waterproof and water resistant canvas. It does work well on that. Having my machine close to the wall, I noticed that it will sometimes get like stopped by it. So if you see me like turning it up or twisting it, that's why. I'm just going to switch to my zipper foot before I put the next part on. so now this is where it starts becoming a little bit tricky. We are taking our exterior and it's already attached, so it makes it easy to put it right side down. So again, we're lining up, starting at the centers and working our way out. Oh, don't worry about TikTok, Kim. There's some comments coming through. Like I had a friend on earlier that was messaging, but more on YouTube. So TikTok, like, it requires like so many lives, like in order to be able to stream with multiple things. So I just figured I'll put it on because during like COVID and stuff, my followers really grew, but it's once the whole TikTok thing went through with the Senate and stuff, it doesn't have the same. I noticed the engagement is not the same. Also, it's very much geared towards TikTok Shop now, so it's gotten more stagnant. All right, so now that it's clipped, I am going to stitch along this one. Yeah, and I like TikTok Nicole just to like slide through. I do think the algorithm is really good that if there are certain videos that you like, for example, like if you're watching sewing videos, it will notice that and then push you more. I think it does that way better than the other social medias, but it can be overwhelming at once. First I said there's like no way I'm getting TikTok because like my students were on it and like doing all the dances, and I like was ignorant and thought that like that's all TikTok was, but then I realized there's a whole bunch of different things on TikTok, so I actually really enjoy it. Yeah, if you make like a business account and stuff, I did the shop for a little bit. I didn't have so much luck with it. I feel like you do have to be more consistent and drive it, and because it's like a commercial account, you can't use, there's like copyrights for the songs and stuff. So I put mine back to just like a creator account instead of like an actual business account on that one. Wow, that is really great, Kim. That is a lot. It's definitely like, if you can catch the right trend and stuff, or people catch your video, like, I think I have like 4,000 followers, and like that grew really quick, but I feel like I've been stuck at 4,000 and change forever now. So if you're catching me on TikTok, I would love if you give me a like or follow. Okay, so this is where it gets really tricky because we need to fold it back on itself. So I have pulled my zipper apart because it makes it easier to turn it on itself. And how I'm going to do it is like going along this way with this here, but you'll see that Kathy from K-Dale Handmade said that it was like sewing down a long dark tunnel, and it kind of is because our exterior is already sewed together. You can't like fully open it. So it does become like a tunnel on your machine, and like folding it back. So because I'm using cotton, I can easily bend it, but with vinyl it's much harder. But this is where I was saying, like, you could just leave your exterior not sewn together, and then you would just like be able to pull this apart like normal, and it would probably make it so much easier. Yeah, I can definitely check it out. You could. All right, is it good? Okay, it's moving now. Sorry about that. I'm glad you guys. I caught Kim saying it. It disconnected for some reason, so I was able to just hit reconnect. So it should be good. All right, thanks, Nicole. Appreciate it. So I'm not sure where it froze me. So I'm just top stitching along this top part. Again, it's going to be like a big tunnel here. So just taking my time. And I'm pulling this away as I'm top stitching. Just trying to make it easier for myself. I'm just trying to like slowly maneuver it through. It is sticking a little bit, so I know my top stitching is not going to be perfect, but that's okay. And so yeah, you can see at the end here where this is getting like a little bit crazy. And I literally have it like looping up on top of my machine. And I'm just being extra careful because my zipper foot is right, or my zipper is right near the foot right now. So this is where it gets like a little bit crazy. Like I said, stitching this one. And this, it's not so bad when you, like I said, when you use the cotton because you can bend it. But if you're using vinyl or stuff, I would maybe recommend not sewing your exterior together. I'm just trimming my threads. So I have the front top stitch now, but I'm going to leave it, I'm not going to turn it yet because I'm going to put my lining sides together and my exterior are already sewn on the bottom. So I'm going to put them right side together, and I'm actually going to start with my exterior, and I'm matching up the vinyl edges and then clipping the sides. And it's so big, I'm finding it easier just to kind of hold it on my lap like this. And I'm gonna clip and sew both sides at once. And we do, like, because of the angle of the bag, sometimes you're able to clip like your lining and your exterior and sew it all at once. We're doing it separate for two reasons. We're doing it, one, because it makes the weird angle, but two, that we are not sewing that together. We need this opening here to be able to insert our D-ring. Hey Holly, I'm so glad you could join. I really appreciate everybody coming to hang out on a Friday night with me. And again, for being so patient with all the technical difficulties. I promise as summer goes on, I'll be getting better with it. Okay, so now I am going to just sew down the edges here at the regular seam allowance. And again, switching to my regular foot. Holly, are you sewing anything or working on anything? Right, so I just finished one side, sewed all the way up. Do the other side real quick. Oh no, Holly. Hopefully it's going well. The bag pattern. Sorry about the week. Alright, so I have just sewn up the sides of the exterior. So we're gonna do a similar thing. We're gonna sew the sides of the lining and only part of the bottom. We're gonna leave like a large turning hole in the bottom so we can turn the bag through there, and we're gonna seal up that opening through our pocket. So I'm gonna clip all three sides, and you can see here where it wants to like curl on itself. So just take my time and line up one at a time. So not too much more left. Just I'm gonna do a crossbody, but I didn't cut out the crossbody yet. I'm gonna sew that up later, just on my own. So really, all we have left is finishing this, boxing the corners, and putting in the D-rings. Okay, so I'm going to sew all 3 sides, but I'm going to start at my regular seam allowance and increase it slightly. We need the regular seam allowance up top so it's the same size when we put the D-rings in, but that increasing our seam allowance slightly will allow us to have a tighter fitted lining, and just making sure I'm leaving that turning hole. Oh, thanks, Kim. I see your comment, the threads. Yeah, all my wizardry, stitchery collection. I'm using the black and white variegated wizardry stitchery right now for this one. Sewing this soda. No, I actually have a drink near my feet because it's so hot in here, but it's okay. This definitely, I would knock that over with my elbow. I'm surprised I haven't already. Be like the one thing that didn't go wrong today. And I'm just leaving, pulling this through to leave that turning hole. Hi, Sean. Yes, I'm sewing up the Addy Shoulder Bag. So if you guys are into quilting at all, the guy who sews is also an ambassador for Cotton Cuts, and he picked the colorway of my quilt that I'm sewing up for the new one coming out, and he picked a great color, so I'm super excited. Oh yeah, it's, I do have quite a few solids. I don't have all of them now because they've added some more colors, and I try to use variegated thread anytime I can. I just love colors. So, although I do want their neon ones, I have this is my favorite from them. Besides like the rainbow, their neon variegated one. So actually, Sean, look, this is all neon colors. I think it will go well with the Josie quilt. Yeah, I use my black solid a lot. I've used the white, but it really depends. And all of these are text 35. I probably could use the 45 for sure in the top, but it definitely doesn't fit in the bobbin. So I just stick with the 35. And actually, like, I don't know if you can see this, but I definitely just won bobbin chicken. So I'm gonna have to do a new bobbin real quick. Thankfully, it's pretty quick on this machine because I have at least one bobbin of all of the colors, but this one was full. I honestly thought that this was going to get me through the whole bag, but I'm glad it ran out now and not while I was top stitching or anything. Oh yeah, it's so fun, Sean. I don't know if any of like the quilting, these are all polyester. So I don't know. I don't know if Aurifil or Glide or any of them. But I've definitely used polyester thread on some of my quilts as well. Oh Kim, this is the Groovy. It's like it has neon, it's hard to see, but it has like neon pink, green, yellow, all the neon colors. The one underneath it is candy corn though. Yeah, Groovy's one of their newer ones. But it's definitely like one of my favorite. Yeah, there's like, I mean, maybe the quilt police will say don't use polyester, but before I bought the Wizardry Stitchery, I used Gutermann even on my bags because polyester does hold up better than the cotton. Alright, Nicole, enjoy your little walk. Yeah, it stinks so much that shipping to Canada is so expensive. Or really overseas anywhere, not even just Canada. I'm always like so humbled when I get an order from a different country because I just know how much was shipping, and then sometimes if it gets taxed when it comes into the country. Yeah, I heard that Waywacker, not sure how you say it, Waywack, started carrying more thread options, and especially like the variegated colors. Alright, so I just fixed the bobbin. I am trimming my threads. Okay, so now what we need to do is box the corners. So I am just reaching my hand inside to open up the exterior first, and then I'm gonna do the interior. So I just line up the center of the seams and butterfly them open. And so the exterior, I am going to sew at the normal seam allowance, and the interior, I'm going to sew at that wider seam allowance so it fits better in the bag. And actually, I'm going to sew my exterior real quick. I apologize if it's like puffing up into the way. And because this is vinyl on the bottom, I'm just going to sew another line of stitching in the seam allowance, just so my vinyl doesn't pull and you can see the stitching. I'm just doing the other exterior side here. I don't have any on order, Holly, for Halloween vinyl. I was saying earlier, I just started like offering pre-orders. Like right now, I do have one open. We're testing, like my site right now is linked through Etsy, but I have another site that we're testing out, Shopify, and I do have a pre-order open there for like glow in the dark and stuff. But because I'm not like a really big shop, we don't get a ton of orders, so I don't have like huge rounds. Also, like a couple of things that I've noticed, just to be like honest and transparent, is like the one, just the economy. So people are not spending as much, myself included. I'm trying to like use my stash, but also because of some of the companies not shipping things and, you know, holding people's money, taking people's money. People are not as trustworthy of the pre-orders anymore. So I do have like pumpkin zipper pulls and like sunflower vinyl and water resistant canvas, but nothing more Halloween. Oh, Kim, thanks. Yeah, no, I just appreciate, you know, any, like all the support and the reviews, and that's also why I am trying to do more lives, and because, you know, I've had people in like Sew Magical Expo has helped, but I feel like all that just, you know, helps grow your shop. So now I'm just doing the same thing, boxing my lining corners. So for the exterior, I sewed 2 lines because the lining is cotton. I'm just gonna sew 1. All right, it's getting kind of like boxy, so I just try to fit it under my needle any way that I can. And I'm doing the larger seam allowance on this one. Alright, so I don't trim any of my seams on the exterior, but I am going to trim down some of the lining where it's a little bit wider, but I'm not trimming it at the top where our D-rings are going. And I'm not trimming along the opening in the lining either. And because this is cotton, it's not like too bulky, thankfully. But if you were doing this with vinyl, you definitely would want to trim down your seams. Alright, so I'm just going to set this on the floor for a second because I need to top stitch my D-ring strap. I've interfaced it and folded it already, so I'm literally just running a top stitching line down each side. And I definitely recommend that you use like a thin webbing or like a cotton. If you do your D-rings out of vinyl, it would be really, really thick, especially how we are putting them in. So I'm just cutting that in half, so I have 2. And I am going to run a line of top stitching along the bottom of the D-ring. And these D-rings are the ones that I carry in my shop. They are really, like, they're thick. I don't like thin hardware. I always feel like I can like snap it. So I carry the thicker kind. And when I was doing these with vinyl, I did use rivets, but for cotton, I just prefer the stitching. Yeah, so vinyl on the D-rings make it very difficult, and if you use vinyl on the zipper tab, can make it kind of hard to turn as well, which we're getting to that part right now, and I'll show you why. All right, we're making it. It's our final steps. Okay, so now we need to put our D-rings in. So if I have the opening here, this is where we're gonna insert them. So I can tell on this side, this is where my zipper tape was bent to the side, like the teeth. So it opens really wide. So this side is the easier side to put the D-rings in. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna open this up, and I put my 2 pointers and just pull out. And when you pull out, it's literally just like doing a box corner. And I line up my center seams. And with one hand, I kind of hold them. And then with my other, I am inserting that D-ring right between. And I mean, you can measure and center it. I just eyeball it being centered. And depending how long you cut your D-ring tabs, you can have more or less sticking out. So now that I have that in there, I am going to sew across. And what's really important is you want to make sure that your seam allowance catches on this side here. You can see your stitching from the top curve, and the same thing over here. You want to make sure that you're cutting across that. If you do not catch that, you're going to have like raw edge. So this is the easier side because it doesn't have that zipper tab, so it opens much wider. So I find I just squish my bag to try to keep this as flat as possible. And you might want to back stitch a couple times over the connector, just because this is what is holding your D-ring in, what's going to hold your strap. So you want it to be secure. You know what just happened on TikTok? I didn't mean to. My phone died, but I don't know. Let me check the phone on. I don't know if my regular phone has enough. I can't see the battery. That's okay. I'm not too worried. There's a 45-degree angle trick on boxing. Oh, that is cool, Holly. If you find it, definitely let me know. So this looks so messy, but it's cutting across both of the lines of sewing going this way, so it should be good. What you can do is, if you want to be extra secure, you could put another line of stitching, which I don't, and if you wanted to, you could even like check to make sure, but like I'm looking real quick to make sure I caught. Yeah, because we left our bottom lining open, you can peek real quick and make sure that you caught everything, which if you're unsure, I highly recommend. And I just don't know how much my aunt is going to put in this, so I am going to add an extra row of stitching. And for this one here, I do not recommend trimming your seam allowance at all, especially because that's where your D-ring tab is. Okay, so now this is the harder part, because you can see that it is a very small opening, and it doesn't open wide. Like, it opens maybe 1.5 inches. So this is the part that's really a pain. And if you are using a vinyl tab here, this is because that zipper tape has the tab. So this is what I was saying too. If you left your zipper tail extra long and used like, you know, like a zipper end cap, and you can tuck it in, it would open wider and it would make this easier. So that's definitely an option. I've just gotten so used to doing that I've never made the longer zipper. So I'm lining up my centers again, and I am going to put my D-ring in. And what you want to try to do, yeah, this is the hardest part, Kim. So like, see how it's so small, and you can, because I'm using black, you can't even see inside. But for this, you want to put your D-ring connector on the side of the exterior. If you can, you know, reach in and feel where your zipper tab is, if you have the D-ring against the exterior side, it's much easier to turn. If it's against the lining, that's where sometimes it gets like stuck on that tab. And if you can't, what's it called, stick it in through the little hole like easily, you can stick your hand through the opening and help rearrange it from the inside. So this is like one of those things where I feel like it's such a pain in the butt, but like once you get it down, you're like, oh, okay. All right. And because of the arch, so you can't really pull it that far away. I'm really tugging on it. This is where it can be a little bit harder to sew straight across. So if you have to sew like an arch to be able to catch the zipper or the sewing here on the left and then the right side, sew that arch. It's not gonna ruin the bag on you or look funny. This is also where I have the most trouble because it doesn't flatten out so much, that I definitely sometimes struggle getting it under my presser foot. Alright, I'm gonna have to put it on my lap and an angle. Because I have the thick D-ring, it's like touching it, so I need to put the zipper, or I mean the D-ring tab in a little bit more. Alright. And I'm like hand cranking it to help it right now. Yeah, Kim, seriously, like definitely putting some muscle in to get that underneath the presser foot and sewn across. So you can I think you can see that there's definitely like an arch. So I'm making sure that I caught that left and right side, which I'm pretty sure I did. I'm gonna, well, I can check it real quick too. It's a little bit harder to check on that D-ring tab side, but you can kind of like pull it through and make sure. Alright, which it looks like I did, so I'm gonna sew that second line of stitching. And honestly, for like this part of the bag, I do not worry about it looking pretty. Like that does not look pretty, but I know it's going to hold. So everything is done. We have our opening in the lining and our opening in the zipper pocket. So I'm going to turn the bag through the bottom lining. It's just because it's easier, especially with the vinyl, or if you're doing all vinyl or cork, you don't want to be turning this through that small pocket. So I'm trying to turn it on my table, we'll see. A lot of times I have to put a bag in my lap to be able to turn it. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put it in my lap. It's just easier for me. I think because I'm so short, like even on the table, it's like lifting my arms up, so it's hard to see and maneuver. And it's like, all right, once you get the bottom, I feel like the exterior out, then the rest kind of goes much easier. Alright, so I'm just taking my time. And I'm putting my hand inside the lining to really push out the bottom. You definitely could use like a blow dryer to help turn it. This one it really wasn't so bad. And this is the promo vinyl from my punk embroidery, which I really like. It's works great on my domestic, and it's soft, it's pliable. Alright, so once you are sure that you have your exterior, then check up near your D-rings. So this is the side that didn't have the zipper tab. So you can see, like when I was talking about the stitching that you want to catch, it's like the top stitching and the stitching along the edge here. So you can see that it's sewed all the way across, and it does make a little like kind of like a little fold here. That's correct if you get that, especially you'll see on this side in a second. So over here on this side, you can see where it like really like curves in and around. So that's correct. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm pushing my lining in. Oh, this is great. I can't wait to give it to my aunt. This is such a cute size. This is my first time making it at 90%. I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. Okay, so now we have our, oh, thank you, Nicole. Yeah, the black promo vinyl, I have bought like the promo in almost every single color. It works well, and it's so affordable. Galaxy, I'll have to check out Galaxy Customs. I've never heard of them. Okay, so now what I'm doing is there's a hole in our bottom of our lining. So I'm sticking my hand into my zipper pocket where we left the zipper pocket open. So you can see it coming through. I'm grabbing my lining of my main panels and pulling that up through my pocket, because I'm gonna seal that first through the pocket, and the bottom will look like a perfectly closed seam. You'll have no idea that we even turned it through. Yeah, this is, I'll grab a ruler in a second to see how big this came out at 90%. The full size is like 15 inches at the top and like 12 and a half at the bottom, which is kind of large for a crossbody. So I thought a little bit smaller would be perfect. Oh, okay. That's great. I'll definitely have to check it out. I love supporting other small shops and, you know, meeting everybody. Like, overall, like, the sewing community is so nice and welcoming. So what I'm doing is I'm just stitching this pocket closed. You can see when we originally sewed it, I went in a little bit, so I'm just matching up that seam allowance. So now I'm going to tuck that back through the zipper pocket, down inside. And I'm not sure because of the lighting if you'll be able to see, but it really, I love that technique of closing it through the pocket because you don't see that stitching at all in the bottom. So now, last thing is just to stitch up our zipper pocket. Thanks Kim, thanks Holly. And like for this, you could measure. Honestly, this is where I just like tuck it down a little bit, pull my fingers apart, and fold it in. When it comes to zipper pockets, I'm really not that precise, and I just stitch along the end at you know, 1/8 of an inch. You could hand sew it or whatnot, but all right. Alright, so I'm going to tuck that back in the pocket. Perfect. So that finishes it. Like I said, I just have to do the crossbody, but I didn't cut that out yet, so I'm not going to do that on here. And then I'm just sewing, and you can see like the zipper actually came out really great. I don't, at least from my angle, I don't see it as wavy. So like I said, the two hardest things for the bag are top stitching along the top, if you choose to do the bottom like this where we top stitch it, and then the pesky D-rings on the side. So this is the Addy Shoulder Bag at 90%, and let me grab the original size real quick. So, I mean, this is a little flat because it's been hanging against my door. But this is the original size, the one that I used in the pattern. So if you put it behind it, you can see the difference. So, but thank you guys so much for joining, watching. For those of you that were chatting along, I really appreciate it, and I apologize for the technical difficulties in the beginning. Like I said, I hope to do more lives this summer, so hopefully they'll go smoother. So thank you so much to all of you, and I'll definitely let you know what I'm sewing up next. Yeah, Kim, I really like it. So for this 90%, I just use, you know, like Adobe regular to print it out, and where you can change like custom size and whatnot, I just put 90%. And the only things that I didn't change were the zipper tab, the D-ring connectors. The D-ring connectors, I still made them 4 inches wide because they still had to be the 1 inch, and you have to adjust the zipper tape. But everything else, if you print it at 90, everything else just adjusts perfectly for you. And I even, because we were doing it at 90, I had the zipper in here decrease and just use the size at 90% as well. So, all right, thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the Facebook groups and chat and whatnot, and I'll let you know when I'm on again. So, thank you. Have a good night. Bye.